Hello, it's Robert Miner with Dynamic Traders Group with today's DT 5-minute update and trade strategy. We're going to take a look at a couple of markets that are set up for really high probability, low capital exposure trades that I believe will get triggered early this coming week. So let's take a look at those and see if we can make some money. Both the markets I'm going to talk about, we've been following for several weeks. Well, we follow them every day in our DT reports, but on these little updates, I've been alluding to a probable setup, upcoming setup in these markets. Well, we're now right there. We're first going to talk about notes, and it applies to bonds as well. Just a little review, weekly data here, probable ABC correction into the early November low. Our weekly momentums are bullish, not overbought. So we're oriented to the long side. And if this is an ABC correction, that means potentially, at least, eventually, notes would continue to a new high. And this is classic ABC stuff. Whether it does end up going to a new high or not, we're looking for setups on the long side for at least several days of continued advance. So here's our daily data, and here's what's finally occurred in this past couple of days, past couple of trading days, is our daily momentums have reached oversold. So we're in a dual time frame, weekly, daily momentum position to complete, or very near the completion at least, of a correction against the bull trend. Almost, in notes at least, almost ideal ABC correction. Ideal price would be just a little bit below Friday's low, 50% retracement, 100% alternate price projection of wave A from the wave B high. Monday is a 62% time retracement on the daily data. That's typically, we make a wave 2 correction by that time. So boy, everything's in position to complete a wave 2 correction followed by a continuation of the bull trend. So here's what I'm looking at, what you ought to be looking at. What we're just looking for is a trigger, put us in the market. Everything's in place. So if I'm looking at this 240-minute data, and the high on Friday would be a minor swing high, and if that's taken out, more than likely, that's going to break the bearish pattern and going to complete an ABC correction. Simple as that. So certainly, it's either taking out the high from Friday or just a higher daily close. So you can use either of those two as an entry trigger, whether you're using futures or options or an ETF. Great setup, perfect technical setup, very minimal capital exposure for the probability of a continuation significantly higher. So that's what we're looking at. If we finally got the setup, been waiting for this exact setup for the past week or so, and we now got it in position that we can actually trigger ourselves into the trade. Let's take a look at one more setup. We've been waiting for this setup for a week or two. If you follow our little updates, we've at least briefly updated you on this and how we've been looking for the last week or so for a specific setup in gold. And so that's what we're going to take a brief look at now, because the setup has been complete. So what we talk about gold applies to silver and the GDX and mining stocks as well. This is gold weekly data. I won't go into details, but the low of a couple of weeks ago was in an ideal position to complete an ABC wave 4 correction. But what we've been looking for is the reversal in the daily data to then have a dual time frame momentum setup to trigger us into the long trade. And we just got that on Friday. So here's Friday's daily data. Friday made this wide range up day, closed near the high of the day, closed above the closes of the past several days, and made a daily momentum bull reversal. So fantastic setup. We're already triggered to be long in this trade. And of course, if you're not already long, it's Monday. We want to get into that trade right away, because we're just a few dollars from where the stop's going to be, right below last week's low, for the potential of a continued bull trend to a new high above the September high. So everything's in place to enter immediately gold, silver, or the GDX for a long trade with minimal capital exposure. So if the market does not continue up, it's going to be a very small loss. And if it does continue as anticipated, it's going to be a potential gain, at least. That's many, many, many times what the capital exposure or the risk is going to be. So that's the two markets that I want you to be looking at early next week. Gold has already completed the setup, the trigger, just simply it's a market to enter in right away, add to positions if you're already long. And bonds and notes, we just need that reversal trigger, either taking out a short-term intraday swing high or closing higher on the day. So I think we're going to get that trigger Monday or Tuesday in notes and bonds. We already got it gold, silver, and the GDX. So these are real high probability, low capital exposure trades for you to take advantage of right now. Take care. Be back with you next week. And of course, if you want to learn more and more about trading education as well, is check out our DT reports. Take care.